We continue now at the top of Daf Kuf Chaf Amud Aleph in Meseches Zevachim. This is Zevachim Daf 120a. On the previous summit, the Gemara discussed various differences between a Bama Ketana and a Bama Gedola, and the Gemara now continues a question from Rabbi Zera. Rabbi Zera asks if you have a carbon ola that's brought on a Bama Asiyochid, on a private altar, a private Bama, Shehichnisa Lifnim, and then it was brought inside, meaning it was brought to the area of the Bama Gedola, Vahotzia Lechutz, and then it was brought back outside. Mahu, what's the halach in that case? Mi Amrinan, do we say Kevan Da'ila, since it was brought in, so called the La Mechitzas, it's absorbed by the Mechitzas of the Bama Gedola, and now you have to follow all of the halachas of Bama Gedola. O Dilma, or maybe Kevan Dahadar Hadar, since it returned to the Bama Ketana, so therefore it returned and it has those halachas. And Rashi explains, Shehechniso Lifnim, it was brought inside Achar Sheshachta Bachutz, after it was slaughtered outside by the Bama Ketana, it was brought inside the Mechitzos of the Bama Gedola, V'chazar V'hotzi, and then it was brought out again. Mahu, what's the halacha? Minohog ba din Kadshe Bama Gedola. Do we now apply the laws of Kadshe Bama Gedola that we had in the previous Amud? Liton Betrumas Chazav V'shok V'tzarach Lachzir Lifnim Olo, in which case if it does require these various halachas like Trumas Chazav V'shok, will it have to be returned inside or not? That's the question of the Gemara. And the Gemara continues and says, Lav hainu plugsa de Rabba v'Rav Yosef. Isn't that the same machlokas that we find between Rabba and Rav Yosef? The Tanan, as we learned in the Mishnah, this is a Mishnah from Meseches Me'ilah, Kadshe Kachim sheshachtan bedarim. If you have Kadshe Kachim, which are slaughtered in the south of the Azar instead of the north, so Moalin Bohen, there is Me'ilah with those Kadshe Kachim. Rashi explains, Hachi Garsinan, this is the proper text. The Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah, Kadshe Kachim, Velo Garsinan de Itmar, don't have the girsa of the Itmar that it was stated. Velo Gares im Alu Lo Yardu, and don't have the girsa of im Alu Lo Yardu, which we have in parentheses over here. O Mishnah Hiba Meseches Me'ilah, this is a Mishnah in Meseches Me'ilah. And so again it said, Moal in Behen, there is Me'ilah. Velo Amrina, we don't say, Command Dechon Kinun Dami V'Havalu Kekadshim Shemesu. Don't say that it's as if they were strangled, it's as if they were Kadshim Shemesu, that they died. The Yatsu Midei Me'ilah, that they leave the status of Me'ilah, they do not leave the status of Me'ilah. Kedetanya b'Meseches Me'ilah, as we learned in Meseches Me'ilah. Hachi Garsina b'Meseches Me'ilah, v'Hachi Nami Garsina La. Lav Hainu de Rabba v'Rav Yosef. Isn't this, the proper text is, isn't this the same machlokas as we find between Rabba and Rav Yosef? The Tanan, as we learned in the Mishnah, Kadshe Kachim Sheshachtim B'Darim Moel and Bohem, again, Kadshe Kachim that are slaughtered in the south, so there is Me'ilah v'iboilu, and they ask the following question. Olu, let's say they go up, they ascend on the Mizbeach. Mausha Yerdu, do they come down from the Mizbeach? Rabba Amar Yerdu, Rabba says they come down. Rav Yosef Amar, Rav Yosef says, Olu Lo Yerdu, if they go up on the Mizbeach, they don't come down. We'll see the Gemara in a moment. But Rashi says, Rabba Amar Yerdu, Rabba says that they come down from the Mizbeach to Lo Damu L'Shar Psulan Shapsulan Ba'Kodesh. It's not similar to other disqualifications that happen in the Kodesh. Ela Kaman Dechankinon and Dami, it's as if they were strangled. Alma L'Rabba Lo Amrin and Kol. The point over here is that according to Rabba, we don't say that the fact that they went up on the Mizbeach, that they are absorbed by the Mizbeach. We say they come back down from the Mizbeach. And the Rav Yosef, Amrinan Kol. According to Rav Yosef, we say they do get absorbed by the Mizbeach. And continuing in the Gemara, again, V'boilahu, and they ask the following question with regards to this Mishnah that is about Kadshe Kachim that were disqualified because they were slaughtered in the south of the Azara. They asked, Yardu, if they come down, Mahu Sheyalu. Again, Rashi has a slightly different girsa. The Bach also says, Olu Mahu Sheyardu, if they went up on the Mizbeach, do they come down or not? Rabba Amar Lo Yalu, Rabba says Lo Yalu. Again, the girsa of Rashi is Rabba Amar Yerdu, they do come down. And the point is, Rabba says they come down because going on the Mizbeach, they're not absorbed by the Kedushas Mizbeach, they come down from the Mizbeach, they're brought down. For Rav Yosef Amar Yalu, and Rav Yosef says Yalu, again, changing the girsa. According to Rashi, Rav Yosef says that Lo Yerdu, they don't come down, they are absorbed by the Mizbeach. And so it seems to be the same basic question as the question we have at the top of the Yom. The question again is, if it was Hichnisa Lifnim, is it absorbed, and does it have all of the laws of the Bama Gedola, of the Bama Sibor? And the Gemara says not necessarily the same question. Tiboy l'Rabba, Tiboy l'Rav Yosef. The question that we're asking could be a question according to Rabba, and could be a question according to Rav Yosef. When we talk about the Mizbeach absorbing what's brought on top of it, it's not necessarily the same as the Mechitzas of the Bama Gedola. As the Gemara says, Adkan lo kama Rabba ela b'Mizbeach. Rabba only said his halacha by the Mizbeach, because by the Mizbeach we apply the following rule. rule. The chazi le mekadesh, something that's fit for the mizbeach, it's able to sanctify it. The lo chazi, lo mekadesh, if it's not fit, it won't sanctify. And over here, it was disqualified. It was slaughtered in the south of the Azara. It was disqualified, so the mizbeach is not mekadesh. Avol mechitza, but when it comes to the mechitza of the bama gedola, avagav the lo chazi le, even though it's not fit for it, kalta, but it does absorb it. Odil more, we could say afilo Rav Yosef. We can ask the question even according to Rav Yosef. Adkan lo kamar Rav Yosef. Hasam Rav Yosef only said it over there. Ela dechad makomu. It's all one area. It's one location. Aval but over here in our case, the train makomos ninu. It's two separate locations. Lo, so we would not say the same halacha, even though Rav Yosef says that it's mekadesh in the case of the mizbeach. That's not true over here. Odil malo shnor. Maybe again there is no difference, and the Gemara says take with the Gemara leaves that as a question. And Rashi explains the lo chazi lo mekadesh, something not fit for the mizbeach. The mizbeach is not mekadesh it. The Tanya beperak hamizbeach mekadesh. We learned earlier in perak hamizbeach mekadesh mitoch shenamar kol hanogea b'mizbeach yiktosh, from the fact that it says anything that touches the mizbeach is sanctified. Shomea ani bein roi bein she'eno roi. So I understand whether it's fit, whether it's not fit. Talmud lomar ola. The pasuk says ola v'hani lav roi ninu, and this is not considered to be fit. The l'Rabba command the chankin and dami. Again, according to Rabba, it's considered as if it was strangled. And Rashi continues again in this case where it was slaughtered in the south of the Azara, the Chad Mokamu, it's all one location. Shaharei ba'Azara nishchatu, again it was all slaughtered in the Azara regardless, and so therefore again in one location it is possible that it is absorbed within that kedusha, but that might not be the case in our question. And we will note over here, even though Rashi said on the Mishnah in Meseches Me'ila that Moalin Bohen, the fact that there's still Me'ila indicates that Lo Amrin and Command the Chankin and Dami, we don't say that it's as if they were strangled. In other words, we don't say that it's as if they were not slaughtered properly. Rather, we say the halachas of Me'ila still apply in this situation. But Rabbah says Yerdu. Rabbah says they do come down from the Mizbeach because Command the Chankin and Dami, we do say it's as if it was strangled. We do say it's as if it was not slaughtered properly. And the idea, according to Rabbah, would be that v'lo amrin and command chankinon, when we're saying there is me'ila, that's on a derabonon level. It's not on a doraisa level. On a doraisa level, Rabbah would say command chankinon dami. It actually is like it was strangled. It is like it was not slaughtered properly, and that's why it comes down from the mizbeach. And again, we're going to say it's not going to be absorbed, so to speak, in the kedushas mizbeach. And the Gemara continues, Milsa de Pshita le Rabba b'chad gisa, that which was obvious to Rabba in one direction, ul Rav Yosef b'chad gisa, and to Rav Yosef in the other direction, mi boy le Rav Yanai, was a question to Rav Yanai. The boy Rav Yanai, because Rav Yanai asked the following question, a vare olas bamas yachid she'olu lemizbeach v'yardu, the limbs of an ola from a private bama that went on to the mizbeach and they came down, mahu, what's the halacha? Heichad lo mashla b'hen ha'or, in a situation where the fire didn't take hold, lo tiboylach, it's not a question, there is a girsa question over here, but we will see Rashi. Rashi might not even have this line. Kiti boylach, when is it a question? Heichad de mashla b'hen ha'or, in a situation where the fire did take hold. In any case, what is the halacha? And the Gemara says teku. The Gemara leaves that as a question. Rashi explains, the boy Rabbi Yanai asks the following question, a vore olas bamas yachid she'olu lemizbeach. The gears of Rashi is as follows, the limbs of an ola of a bamas yachid that go on to the mizbeach, that go on to the bama gedola, mahu, what's the halacha sheyerdu in terms of coming down? Hachi garsinan, that's the proper text. Uva mi'ila, nami hachi garas la, also in mi'ila, that's the text. Avalo Rabbi Yanai garas lahasam, but that's not the text in Rabbi Yanai over there. A vare ola shenishchita b'bamas yachid. Rashi's girsa is, you have the limbs of an ola that were slaughtered by the bamas yachid, and the point is, shalo b'makomahu legabe bama gedola, that's not the proper place relative to the bama gedola. Essentially, they were slaughtered by the bamas yachid, and so now the question is, they go up on the mizbeach, on the bama gedola, do they come down? Kekadshe kachim sheshachatan b'darim. That's similar to the case of kadshe kachim that are slaughtered in the south. So essentially, it's the same question as before, the same machlokas that we had between Rabbah and Rav Yosef before. And again, that's a question to Rabbi Yanai. And the Gemara continues, Itmar, it was stated the following, Machlokas Amoroim, Shchitas Laila b'bamas yachid, slaughtering at night by a bamas yachid, by a private bama. Ravu Shmuel, that's a Machlokas between Rav and Shmuel. Chad Amar Ksheira, one says it's kosher, V'chad Amar Psula, and one says it's psula, it's disqualified. V'kom miflagi b'd Rebbe Lazar, and they're arguing within Rebbe Lazar. The Rebbe Lazar Rami Kroy Hadadi, because Rebbe Lazar had the following contradiction in Psukim. Ksiv, it's written in the Pasuk, this is in Sefer Shmuel, Vayomer Begadatim Golu Elai Hayom Evan Gadol, it says, roll to me today day, the Evan Gedola, the large stone, it says Hayom, as if it has to be done during the day. Uchsivin, it's also written in the pasuk right after, Vayomer Shaul said, Putzu ba'am v'amartem lehem, Hagishu elai ishorov ishsiyeu, Ushchatetem b'zeh v'achaltem, v'lo sechetu la'Hashem lechol al adam, Vayagishu kolam yishorov b'yado halayla. It says it all happened at night, Vayeshchatu sham, and they slaughtered over there. It's a contradiction in Psukim, whether it was during the day, whether it was at night. And Mar Mishani, one answers, meaning to say, in terms of the Machlokas Rav and Shmuel, one approach is kan b'chulin, kan b'kachim. In one case, we're talking about chulin, something that's not the slaughtering of animals that are not karbanos. That can happen at night, but kachim has to happen during the day. According to that, shchitas laila b'bamas yachid would not be okay. Umar Mishani, but the other one answers kan b'kachim b'ma gedola. In one case, we're talking about b'ma gedola. By b'ma gedola, it does have to be during the day. And kan b'kachim b'ma katana. Here, we're talking about b'ma katana. By Kodshe Bama Katana, it does not need to be during the day. And the Gemara continues, Itmar, it was stated the following, Machlokas Amoraim, Olas Bamas Yachid, in Ola by a Bamas Yachid, Rav Amar Ein Tuna Hafshid V'nituach. Rav said it does not require flaying and cutting it up. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Tuna Hafshid V'nituach, and Rabbi Yochanan says it does require flaying and cutting it up. And on that, the Gemara says, V'kamiflagi b'd Rabbi Yossi HaGlili. They're arguing about Rabbi Yossi HaGlili's statement within Rabbi Yossi HaGlili. The Tanya, as we learned in a Bryce, Rabbi Yossi HaGlili, Omer, Rabbi Yossi HaGlili says, Ola Sheikrivu Yisrael B'midbar, the Ola, the Klal Yisrael brought in the wilderness, Ein Tu'una Hafshid V'nituach, it does not require flaying and cutting it up. She'ein Hafshid V'nituach Ella Me'ol Moed Ve'elach, because Hafshid V'nituach only applied from the Oel Moed and onward. So Mar Savar, one holds Me'ol Moed Ve'elach Loshna Bama Gedola Ve'loshna Bama Katana. One says when we say Me'ol Moed Ve'elach, it doesn't matter if it's Bama Gedola, Bama Katana. What we mean to say is there is that requirement. Umar Savar, and the other one says Bama Gedola in, that requirement is only by Bama Gedola, but Bama Katana lo, it is not by Bama Katana, it's not by the private individual's Bama. And the Gemara continues, Tanya Kavasi de Rabbi Yochanan, we have a brisa like Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan again said that Hafshid V'nituach is required. When it comes to Olas Bamas Yachid, we have a brisa like Rabbi Yochanan. Devarim Shebein Bama Gedola Bama Katana. The following are differences between Bama Gedola and Bama Katana. Keren V'kevesh V'yasod V'ribua B'Bama Gedola, the halacha of Keren, which is the corner of the Mizbeach. Kevesh is the ramp, Yasod is the base, Ribua is the halacha that is be square. That's by Bama Gedola. Vein Keren V'yasod V'kevesh V'ribua B'Bama Katana. These halachas do not apply by Bama Katana. Kior V'kanor, the Kior is the basin. That is B'Bama Gedola. That applies by Bama Gedola. Ve'ein Kior V'kano B'Bama Katana. And there is no halacha of the basin and its base by Bama Katana. And Chazav V'shok B'Bama Gedola, the halacha of Chazav V'shok is by Bama Gedola. Ve'ein Chazav V'shok B'Bama Katana. There's no halacha of Chazav V'shok by Bama Katana. Devarim Sheshavsa B'Bama Gedola B'Bama Katana. In the following way, Bama Gedola and Bama Katana are the same. Shchita B'Bama Gedola Ukatana. There's halacha of Shchita by Bama Gedola and Katana. Hafshid V'nituach and Hafshid V'nituach, which is what we are discussing right now. B'Gedola Ukatana, that applies by Gedola and Katana. That's like Rabbi Yochanan, who says Hafshid V'nituach applies. And dam matir, the blood, the application of the blood is a matir, it's a permitter, umefagel, and also if the person has the wrong intention, it can create pigul. Bigadola ukatana, that applies by gadola and katana. And mumin uzman, when it comes to the halachas of blemishes and the halachas of time, bigadola ukatana, those are the same by gadola and katana. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Aval noser v'hazman v'hatame shavin zeh bazeh, the halachas of noser. That's if the carbon is left beyond the proper time. Zman is when the person has the wrong intention in terms of time. And tame is when the person is impure. Those halachas apply by both Bama Gedola and Bama Katana. Rashi explains, Aval zman v'hanoser v'hatame sefer demas nisan. Right now the Gemara is quoting the end of the Mishnah. V'lo bebraisu, this is not in the Brisa. And the Gemara says, Tanu Rabban, and the sages taught in the Brisa, minayin laso zman b'Bama Katana k'Bama Gedola. How do we know that the halachas of Zman are the same by Bama Katana and Bama Gedola? Rashi says, Minayin lasos Zman lios nifsol benoser. That's talking about the disqualification of noser if it's left beyond the proper time. Again, how do we know those halachas are the same? To ha'amra Torah, because the Torah says lon, that if it's lon, it's left over beyond the proper time. That's noser. Yisar, if it should be burned. V'yotze Yisar, and also if it's taken outside of the proper place, it's burned. Ma yotze kasher b'Bama. Now, just like yotze is kasher by a bama, afalon kasher b'Bama, so too lon, if it's left beyond the proper time, it should be kasher by a bama. V'lav kal v'chomer hu ma'ofos, but the Gemara says, shouldn't it be a kal v'chomer from ofos, from birds? And Rashi explains, again, halon hainu nosar, lon is nosar, v'hayotze yisarif, and if it's yotze say it's burned. Nafkalan b'psachim, that's learned from in psachim. Mehein lohuves dama la kodesh panima haisa lefigach achal tochla osa ha'im lo haisa panima ru'u yehilisarif. The implication of the pasuk is that if it wasn't in the proper area, so then it should be burned. Now my yotze kosher b'bama katana. Now yotze is kosher by a bama katana, by private bama. Sharek ksher b'lo mechitzas. There's no din of mechitzas by a bama katana. So aflon kosher, so too when it comes to lon we should say kosher. Umeata lo yehei azman posel, and according to that, zman would not be a disqualification. Daha'asya mehaydina kedamar, and it would come out from this way of learning. Vidinu miderech acheres she has man posel, but you can go the other direction. That's what the Gemara is trying to argue, and say that zman is a disqualification. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Kuf Chaf Amid Beis.